So when this flock comes down, oh, it's a guillotine, huh? Yeah, this is writable. Interesting. Indeed. All right, so we are going to be up against Swain and Lysandra. And this is not really a great opener. I don't really think we want any of these. It's tempting to keep the one of right in negation. Just because it is a one of, it's kind of unique and it could be critical in this matchup. But you don't want to run into bad mulligans like that. I swear there's early game in this deck, gang. So, you know, hello. We're back on our Croc week thing. We're still running Renekton decks. I know that it's hard to tell that when your hand is triple Garen. But this is a Renekton list. Oh, and then they just have the Scorched Earth for our Plaza. Okay. Fair, I guess. Look, a 2-drop. I told you they existed. I wasn't making it up. Wow, none of these are very helpful either. I guess we'll take the Concerted Strike.
Whatever woke you up.
But with us not able to mount much pressure here, I can't imagine that it's gonna matter at any point. We'll take the Garen play because if he dies, I mean we've got backup Garens. Ravine is interesting. Flash freeze makes a bit more sense. That buys you time. I guess Ravine happens at the start of a round, so if you have another Scorched and you're trying to kill the Garen, perhaps that's your reasoning. Sure, a flock.
Demacia will prevail.
Guess we'll go with the Cytheria here. Try another Garen, I guess, because, you know, it's what we got. They heal up a bit. All right, we have Exhaust that we can utilize, and we have Concerted Strike that we could utilize, but I like Exhaust more because it leaves us mana for Right in Negation. And so with that in mind, I think we want to go ahead and do it this way. We'll do it this way. Now we've only seen one Ravenous Flock, and if there's one thing I know about Swain decks, they just seem to always appear in multiples. This tells me it's another Flash Freeze in all likelihood. No. Interesting. I'm a bit surprised by that. So when this flock comes down, oh, it's a guillotine, huh? Yeah, this is writable. I would rather just stop that. If they were playing that, then they probably don't have the flock, since the flock is the cost-effective answer there. So I feel okay with trying to go for that because now Garen heals back up. This is Challenger this round. So I think we do this to give ourselves a good open attack, but it also gives us a shot at leveling Garen. Other than Swain, I can't imagine we have a better target anyway. That's the second Draculorn out of the way as well, so it reduces the chance we have to worry about them speeding up the thralls. But like I was saying, it gives us enough to at least threaten lethal with our open attack. Now, flash freeze effects certainly slow that down. Harsh winds here, but no, we get it. Okay, so there's game 1 in the books. We're gonna play 2 like we always do, and then I'll talk through the deck list and what we're trying to do with Renekton this time around. You know, hopefully he'll make an appearance in game 2. Paired up against Aphelios Victor. Now this is an archetype that I haven't seen in quite some time. We'll keep 1 exhaust. Okay, Croc has shown his face. We have a Renekton sighting. Unfortunately, that's kind of all we have at the moment. And they have not 1 but 2 copies of the flight. Okay, I respect it, sure. This is kind of an awful start. Kind of an awful start, but we do what we can.
Inferior design.
So we get rid of a bot. That's acceptable, I suppose. But this is where the real fun begins. We finally get a Croc up and running. We've got Garen to help out. Gonna take some more damage from flight. Who knows, maybe even multiple flights. Because we know that they're coming. That's a goat. That's a flight. Remember when I said maybe even multiple flights?
No closer.
I guess they're just going to keep trying to shove 4 elusive damage down our throats. Over and over. So now we have a decision to make here. Garen or Ruin Runner. And I think it's still Garen here, largely because we want to try to get this leveled, and then we can potentially outpace them. No way to keep Garen alive.
Demacia will prevail.
They very clearly were thinking the same thing we were, which is that Garen is a problem. Not something that they want to deal with. Okay, they go with a priestess. They might have grabbed something like a comet there. We'll go with a runner. That gives us some flexibility this next round. It's a shame that if they did get the comet and they nuke something next round, it's still not good enough to trigger our radiant here to maybe recoup some health. I swear my brain's just not working today, gang. I'm just mentally fried. My mouth doesn't want to work. I'm sure I'm gonna make a bunch of misplays. All right, so they get the daybreak and the nightfall going, and we get a bit of a present in the form of the cataclysm here. That might change things up a bit. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do this. We want to take the open on the off chance they did get a comet. As much as I want to be greedy and take other plays, you need to take the open here in case they got a comet.
Back, heretic.
Both our units have overwhelm here. It's just the right thing to do. Kind of put them on their back foot a bit while also we'll do this. We still have the 3 for the cataclysm depending on what else they do. Right now I'm trying to get them to spend some mana because we would really like to just jump on this. All right, at 3. I am a bit worried about elusives, right? They've had 1 flight. We know they've got another. Depending on the moon weapons, they've gotten 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They could be trying to push elusive. I think you still have to get rid of Aphelios, though. Maybe we get lucky and we draw something to deal with the flights. We do have stuff like Sharp Sight, you know, Concerted Strike or whatever, to maybe pick some of those off. But Aphelios is just Value Town. And you don't want to let your opponent go to Value Town. So we didn't draw an answer, but it doesn't matter. They surrendered. We dodged a bullet. Okay. Let's go take a look at the list so that I can talk about the Demacian version of Renekton. For today's deck for Croc Week, I decided to pair Renekton with Demacia for a couple of different reasons, and we'll talk about that as I go through the list. Again, I kind of want to apologize because I've just been a bit mentally foggy today, and so I feel low energy and I feel like I am not highlighting the things that I normally do when I'm playing, and I'm having trouble speaking. Sometimes that happens with me. I've got a blood disorder, and one of the side effects is that occasionally I have very foggy days, among other things. For those who have been following me since Tesla days, it's the same thing that caused me to have the TIA, makes me prone to clots, all that jazz. So I'm just a bit out of it, but we're going to go through the deck list. Hopefully here I can highlight what the deck was trying to do a bit better, and also talk about some potential alternatives because it does have some weaknesses. So right out of the gate, 3 exhaust, because exhaust is just a really great activator for Renekton. And you know, when exhaust works, it feels amazing. It just feels like free real estate. You pay 1 mana, you get a value trade, and it's beautiful. All right, 3 Chronomancer, because you need some early game, and this is just a nice generic body with a great effect when you play it to help smooth out your draws. And you probably need some help smoothing out your draws because sometimes this version of Renekton can be a bit clunky. It's a bit top heavy, right? Most of your key cards cost 4, 5, or 6. And as such, you want to make sure that you have the right ammo at the right time, so the predict is really helpful. Running 3 Bright Steels just as another early game unit with upside. And right now, that's it for 2 drops. What I really wish that I could jam in was some additional Egghead Researchers as well. There's been some consideration on my end to cut back some of this top end. Like it's really hard to justify cutting Cytheria, but even just kind of toning her down a little bit, and then possibly, you know, even toning down something like maybe 1 less Plaza, because believe it or not, 3 is a bit much, because we already have activators like exhaust, because we have things like Cataclysm. I'm actually under the impression 3 might be a bit too much. But I want to jam in some Egghead Researchers. This version doesn't have it though, so if you're looking to make a change, that is one place I would consider making it. So other 2 drops or 2 cost cards, if you will, but these are not actually 2 drops because you don't drop them on the table, include Sharp Sight for dealing with elusives and good combat tricks, and a 1 of single combat just to kind of serve to help you out, mess with people's combat math, catch people by surprise, keep them honest, that sort of thing. All right, 3 Cataclysm. This was the entire reason I wanted to pair Renekton with Demacia, because Cataclysm will trigger any of your attacking effects. And so that means that if you use Cataclysm on Renekton, not only do you get the challenge portion, but because it counts as an attack, you get the bonus for the challenge, or on a level 2 version, you still get the +3/+3. And so Cataclysm can serve as not just removal, but also your ability to punch through a ton of overwhelm damage, because that counts as well. The other nice thing about Cataclysm is because we are running 3 copies of Grizzled Ranger, if you use Cataclysm on, say, like your opponent's turn, on a Grizzled Ranger that still has the Scout keyword, it's basically a rally effect, because again, it's going to count as the Ranger attacking, which triggers the Scout effect and then gives you the attack token back. So Cataclysm just does a bunch of really solid stuff in this list. I wanted some more early presence. Again, we're kind of struggling in that regard, so I was running 2 copies of Duelist. They're also a great way to give Renekton Challenger, but because we're a Garen list, I also wanted to give him Challenger as well. But since we have the 3 Plaza here, again, same concept, wanted to give our units Challenger. I'm not convinced that Duelist is necessarily the best inclusion either, so these could also just become, for example, Egghead Researchers, as I'm trying to jam some of those in. There's basically a lot of flexibility in this list. The core is really Renekton, a couple of Renekton activators like Plaza, like Exhaust, etc., and then Ranger and Garen, right? So speaking of that, Ranger, great with Plaza, always has been. Ranger, great with Cataclysm, kind of the whole point of the deck besides Renekton. Renekton here, 1 of Right and Negation. Turns out deny effects are still really strong. 2 Concerted Strike. I like the Concerted Strikes a bit more than, for example, the single combat, because it's another great way to sneakily level up your Renekton because it counts as a strike. So it helps him deal damage in that regard. It won't trigger his effects, but again, if his level up condition is I've dealt 12 damage, it's really helpful. Same thing with Garen here. Garen just cares if you strike. Concerted Strike helps get that done. So this is like one of your better removal options. 3 of Garen, because I was running 3 Plaza at the time that I was building it, I really like running Garen with Plaza. I actually think that that is a bit underrated. I know that in scout-based lists, usually Quinn is the go-to because you want multiple attacks, and, you know, old Plaza used to love that, and I understand why. But the thing about Garen is that Garen in the current meta is a solid choice because of his big body and the regen. So he survives things like Avalanche, Blighted Ravine really well. He's going to heal back up. He is a great blocker in a lot of the aggressive matchups. But then in doing his job, even just in blocking, you potentially level him up, and then you get the attack token, which allows you to go on the offensive and make better use of your scouts like Ranger, of cards like Renekton. And the other nice thing about Garen when you have Plaza is it means that you're no longer waiting to get the most value out of your unit deployments when you have the attack token, because you're going to have it every round. So I think Garen is usually a great choice to pair with Plaza. But even going so far as like Cataclysm, again, just like Concerted Strike helps Garen level up, Cataclysm does as well. A lot of times if you swing with Garen and they don't block him, and then you have Cataclysm in hand, you can use it to force Garen to jump on somebody. You get a kill out of it, and then if they don't have any sort of way to finish Garen off, he's going to heal back up because of the regen as well. It's just win-wins all around. Currently a 1 of Radiant Guardian. I kind of wish I could run more. I think the lifesteal is really important in some matchups, but it's really hard to fit things in because our 5s are already crowded, because we're running Ruin Runner because it's amazing, and also because it works really well again with Cataclysm. Also works really well with Plaza because you can use it to push Nexus damage by running over small health units, so on and so forth. And then I was running the 3 of Cytherea on the top end, but as I was saying before, we've already got so many like nice powerful plays here at 4 and 5 that she kind of feels like overkill. I don't know. I go back and forth on this. It's so hard to get myself to not want to run Cytherea because she's outstanding. But I feel like the biggest weakness right now, after having played this for a couple of days before recording today, is just the lack of a consistent early game. And so however you want to address that, feel free. But with that being said, this is the deck from today. As always, deck code will be in the video description. A link to Mobiletics will be there as well. This is just a baseline. Feel free to, as I said, take the core and move stuff around because this is not a refined version of this. I've been tweaking it. I haven't found anything that I fully like yet that I would endorse. So have at it, make changes. Again, Duelist, I don't think necessarily warrants the slot really anymore. And there's a couple other changes I would make, and I really feel like Egghead belongs in here somewhere as well. But that's it. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. As always, thanks for watching. If it's your first time, consider subscribing. And until next time, may you walk on warm sands.